Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we have an episode brought to you by DLT Trading. Look them up for all your knives and EDC needs. And today we're taking a look at a very different, very unique, and very exclusive Spyderco. This is the DLT Trading exclusive Spyderco Tuff. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, before we go any further, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 8.85 inches, a blade length coming in at 3.7 inches with a cutting edge coming in at 3.25 inches. This blade width is 1.25 inches, blade thickness coming in at 0.157 inches. That blade material is crew wear with a drop point style blade, a flat grind, and very important to note, TICN coated. We will talk more about that when we get to this blade. A handle length of 5.125 inches, handle thickness coming in at 0.47 inches. One of the only parts of this knife that is relatively average as far as thickness goes. Handle width coming in at 1.24 inches. That was measured right around here. Handle material of G10 on the show side, titanium on the lock side. As you can see, we have a frame lock, and the user on this guy is right or left hand, tip up or tip down carry, as resembling the 3 drill holes on each side, here, and all over the knife. You can carry this guy however you would like. We have a weight coming in at 6.4 ounces, a price of $315. This knife is designed by Ed Shemp, who is a custom knife maker, and as I said before, this is a DLT exclusive. So if you want this knife after the review, or if you've wanted it for a long time and don't even care about this review and just want to buy the knife, hop down into the description of this video. I will have this knife linked below for you to purchase. Now let's take a look at some size comparisons here, because I was not expecting this knife to be that big. Now, I'm not upset about it. This is a big knife. Very, very cool knife here. We have the Demco AD20 for size comparison. As you can see, making the AD20 look very average. They're about the same size, as well as the Spyderco Cold Steel AD10, which is just a little shorter. So I think everybody, or probably 90+% of the knife community, has a good idea of at least one of these knives. There you go. It is a big boy. And now let's compare it to a couple other Spydercos to give you a little more size comparisons here. We've got the Shaman, and we also have the PM2 Tonto, the Deadpool, as crowned by you guys. So as you can see, this is, yeah, it's big. It's considerably bigger than the PM2, which usually makes a lot of other knives look small. So that, I think, is all you need for size comparisons. We are working with a pretty big guy here, and let's start talking about him. Let's talk about this blade. This is a very, very different and unique, but really nice blade. When I first saw the picture of this guy, I admit, I thought it was a little ugly. Wasn't sure if it was my jam. Wasn't sure if it was something I would really like or not. But I tell you what, if I didn't know any better and you told me this was a collaboration between Spyderco and Cold Steel, I would 100% believe you. It has a Cold Steel feel to it, but all the Spyderco markings. So really cool mishmash. I know there's a lot of people out there that really like Spyderco and Cold Steel, so that's some really cool characteristics tying into this knife. Even though Cold Steel has nothing to do with this knife, I'm not trying to confuse anyone. Cold Steel is not associated with this knife in any way whatsoever. But just such a thick stock, a heavy stock. I mean, this knife in general is 6.4 ounces, so it's not light, but it is just such a beefy stock with a nice bruising tip. And it still comes down to a pretty good edge. That edge comes down to 26 thousandths behind the edge. And due to the actual grind angle on this edge, it's a nice wide grind. It actually cuts really, really well. Dare I say, slices pretty well. I would have never expected that, but definitely an absolute excellent working blade, especially for those harder jobs, whether it be craft work, construction work, outdoor work, whatever you guys do. This is a really, really good knife to beat with. You have this coating here, which we're going to talk more about now. This is TICN, T-I-C-N, TICN coating. That stands for titanium carbonitride. So what that is, it's a coating using the PVD process. It's adding carbon, that's what the C stands for, carbon to the titanium and nitride finish, which increases the hardness of the coating by nearly 80%. So you have an extremely hard coating combined with an extremely thick slab of Cruwear steel, which we already know is a very strong steel. So combining those two, that gives you just an absolutely massively strong, I mean, this is like a pocket sword almost. I mean, it can be so many things, but it is extremely durable first and foremost. Tough. It is definitely living up to its name when you talk this blade, because it is just as tough as you can get. Now, another thing I really like about this blade is I can't say I love the fact that it's a coated blade. You guys, I've said it plenty of times on this channel. I'm not the biggest fan of coated blades, but I really like the fact that you can still see the grind lines. You can see the grind lines even through the coating. And it might sound, I mean, it's obviously purely aesthetic, but I think it looks really cool. I like that. It helps me appreciate a coated knife a little more. It just looks good. I don't know if it's just a thinner coating and that's why you can see it, or if maybe through the PVD process they find a way to, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really speak intelligently at this point, but I know that you can see the grind lines. I think that's really sweet. It definitely pops, and you notice it too. You don't have to look real close. I mean, just a little light hits it and you can see those grind lines. So really, really cool. Brings out a little more extra pop to the blade. And more than anything, it's just, it has so many good ergonomic features. Even on the blade, you have this excellent jimping here and excellent jimping up here, which gives you just a really good, I personally like to pinch it right here. I wish there was some jimping here. That would be cool. But regardless, the jimping on the choil allows for so much traction. And the placement of this Spidey hole makes it very easy to thumb roll out, as well as, you know, thumb flick it, as well as middle finger flick it. So very nice Spidey hole. The fuller, you can also flick the fuller. Takes a little more middle finger flicking skill, but you can do it a lot easier when you're not behind a camera. There you go. But it does work. So big knife, kind of heavy knife, but it has its fidgetiness to it. So that's worth mentioning, and I think a lot of people will appreciate that. Going into the handle and ergos of this guy, the ergos are very versatile, I think is the best way to explain the ergos on this knife, because you can hold it back here for certain tasks. If you have to just do long, you know, swipes or, you know, draws, you can also choke up here and do like to puncture or pierce something. Or you can do this, which is what I would prefer if I was to EDC this knife, which this is a very EDCable knife. Don't get me wrong. Don't let the size and weight fool you. There's a lot of people that EDC knives this big. This feels really good to me. This is how I would use it most of the time. Very comfortable. No real hot spots. The pocket clip back here is looks like the same as the Shaman clip, so no real issue there. It's just your typical Spyderco clip. Nothing to write home about, but yeah, it works. And the handle in general, everything about this knife, I will say, this knife lives up to its name just as much as any knife I've ever handled, the Tuff. And this handle is built tough. You have a handle construction that is thick, but not too thick. 0.47 is really, actually kind of average. But you have the liner, so there's a stainless steel liner in G10, which we all know is plenty strong and durable. That makes one side, which is really about as thick as the blade, maybe a hair thinner, as well as the titanium side, which we all know is super strong material. And it makes just a very solid handle. And within that handle, you have a lock bar insert, as you can see here, which you don't see on many Spydercos. You also have an over travel stop, which I really wish the new Swish buoy had the lock bar insert and travel stop. Two very nice features to have. You also have an oversized pivot, which is going to add a lot of strength at the pivot point, so you won't get any blade play or anything after some heavy use. And you also just have some very nice jimping and easy access to the lock bar. So this is also another knife that would be really good if you were wearing gloves. Maybe not, it depends on what type of gloves, but this is definitely a knife that would be easy to operate, or at least open and use with a glove in your hand. Not sure how easy it would be to disengage the lock bar and close the blade with gloves. You could probably do it, but again, you just, you'd have to use it and become comfortable with it. But it is just a knife that it's built. It is built strong, well, and ready to use hard. I really do like the overall aesthetics and handle, the outline of this guy. As you can see, you close it, and it actually closes and carries in the pocket pretty well. It's a little wide, but it's very smooth. There's no pointy edges or parts of the knife that would be uncomfortable in the pocket. And again, it's not super thick, so it carries really well. Just for comparison, let's compare it to a PM2. It's almost exactly the same as a PM2. Maybe just a hair thick. Actually, no, let's compare it with the clip side. And as you can see, it's maybe just a hair thicker than the PM2, but it carries great. It carries really, really well. As for the action is it's good. It's smooth. More than anything, it's smooth. This doesn't whip out quite like, a Shaman blade or a PM2 blade, because there's just more weight there. There's more beefiness in general, but it's very smooth. It's excellent to use for the thumb roll. And of course, you can also do the thumb flip, and you can also do the middle finger flip. It is a fun blade to use. I don't know if I could sit here and fidget with it all day like I would a PM2 or something like that, because you just got a little more weight in your hand. Your fingers and wrist will feel a little more, but this is not a fidget knife. This is a working knife that happens to have a decent little fidget factor to it. So no issue there. And it actually also shakes shut pretty easily because it's a heavy blade. So yeah, it's pretty easy. And keep in mind, have not opened this or lubed it at all yet. So got a lot of good things going for it. I did notice as I was fidgeting with this, the blade came just a little off center, but that is only because they didn't go crazy with the Loctite on the pivot. That's so nice. So I can go back and I can add my own Loctite without having to throw up a fit and a tantrum trying to take the knife apart, because I didn't notice any real Loctite. This screw unscrews very, very easily, so it makes a lot of the troubles that a lot of people always complain about with the excessive Loctite use coming from Spyderco. You don't have that. Now, this is also from, worth noting, the Spyderco Taichung plant, so not the Golden, Colorado plant. Maybe that is why. But regardless, it's an easy knife to disassemble. It is a great knife to work with and use, and overall thoughts on this guy are extremely positive. Like I said before, I wasn't too sure about this knife. Just looking at it and reading the specs, this is a surprising home run for me. I had no idea how I was going to feel about this, but I really do love it. It's an absolute tank and a bruiser, with some aesthetics that I find to be pretty attractive. They're unique, but they stand out and they look pretty good. They have smooth lines. Just a very unique and extremely well-built hard user. One that I would recommend to anyone any day of the week. Like I said, it's not for everybody, but this is going to be for a lot of people. People are going to like this knife. I hope they give it a chance because it's so different. It's so out there. It's definitely one that it's surprising. It was surprising. If you like bigger knives, if you like the cold steels, and if you like the hinderers and the I can't believe I can't think of the name. But if you like big overbuilt knives, you are going to like this. Medford. Wow. I don't know why I couldn't think of Medford, but Medford, it's another one that kind of reminds me of a Medford. If you like those bigger, chunkier knives, this is a knife worth checking out. I think a lot of people would appreciate it. I don't think you'd be disappointed with it. And it's one that you could definitely put to work and get some good results done with. So that is the Spyderco Tuff. Let me know what you guys think of this guy. It is a different one, but it is a very, very cool one. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Put those comments down in the description below, or in the comments below. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.